Yo, chat. Let me make sure I got my camera on. Where is my camera? Yo, chat. Let me make sure I got my camera on. Let's try. Where is my camera? I think I lost my camera. Hold on, chat. Let me work something out real quick. Nope, there we go. All right, let's do it. How everybody doing today? Let me know in the comment section. Y'all excited for this week? All right, let's do it. How everybody doing today? Everybody here should be excited for the overall week ahead. We have a great week ahead coming up. You know, last week wasn't the greatest, but great learning opportunities and everything that we did. So that's the most important thing, is really understanding the lessons that were given to us in the moments of last week, right? So like I said, a lot of learning opportunities. I'm gonna give it a few minutes. I gotta put this in my Telegram chat so that they have it, because they be waiting on me to put it inside of the chat. So let me share it real quick. And I wonder why hold on, why does my shit look like this? Okay, never mind. All right, oops. All right, so we're about to go ahead and get started. Does anybody have any questions to start though, before we dive right into it? So we're gonna talk about gold. We're gonna talk about Nasdaq. We're gonna talk about US 30. So for anybody that's brand spanking new to the call, welcome. I do these live streams every Sunday at 6 p.m. Central, same time, same week. Just so you know, it's my give back day to the world. A lot of people struggle with, their analysis inside of the markets and really understanding it. So I hop on here, like I said, every single week to give you guys my markups and what I'm looking for, and you guys can ask any questions that you may or may not have inside of it, right? So definitely take advantage of asking questions if you have any, right? So let's first talk about where we were last week, and then we'll dive into the trades that we took last week, right? So last time we hopped on a call last Sunday, we were here, and I mentioned that pretty much if we got this breaker structure, we would look for a break, a retest, and then we could potentially sell it down if we broke underneath the zone. So first I had said to watch price here, because we didn't know if we would get a bounce off of this area. So you can see the ghost pattern that we had to begin the week last week played out perfectly, and then we got that bounce that I pretty much have here, but we didn't quite get that as far because we did have a breaker structure. So in the midst of where we was at last week, we didn't have this higher low point right here, but ultimately once that higher low point formed, you will move this breaker structure line up here. So then we had an impulse breaker structure, we had a correction, and then we got this beautiful continuation to the downside. And then this was the trade that we took, that a lot of people made money from. The very first trade was this one right here. It was a simple break and retest, low minor structure fib here. This one was a 38.2. It didn't quite hit negative 27, but then it respected that area. And then, like I said, this is the one that everybody inside of the chat pretty much took advantage of. And then y'all said y'all waiting inside of the Zoom room. Y'all can't be waiting inside the Zoom room because I took the thing off. Hold on. Y'all shouldn't be. Hold on. Let's move this over here. Y'all shouldn't be waiting in the Zoom room because the link is my students already on here. That's on here. But all right. So back to what I was saying. This played out perfectly. A lot of people said they made money. A lot of people said they passed their funded accounts, whatever the case may be. So this was a beautiful trade. I think this was the trade that took us to, I want to say 2,200 at the time, right? And then currently we had, well, not currently. Then we had tried to take another. Where was we looking at? So this buy right here was the one that we were looking to catch, but it didn't quite give us the confirmations that we had needed to see. So ultimately we had like this little respect of support here. Price came down into this level of support, and then I need these alerts. Price came to this level of support and then instantly pushed up. This was the date that I believe Trump had began to talk or whatever, and then it just shot up. And then we had an impulse break. So we had broke structure here, impulse break, and then this is where stuff went south in a challenge. And this is where, like, as a trader, you got to go back and dissect, what you did wrong. So, throughout the challenge and over the weekend, I pretty much looked to see, like, okay, what did I do wrong in that moment, right? So when we were looking for our buys, we had this point A to point B, and at the time, just like I was explaining inside of the video, I was looking for buys here in this area right here, but it was in the midst of me trying to get my daughter a bath, so I really wasn't that attentive. So I could have potentially saved the loss if I was actually like actively trading, but like I said, I just like set the alerts on M1. And then once it broke, the previous high, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna enter on M1, got in, and then got smacked because I wasn't really fully attentive of looking at structure. Y'all know, like, majority of my entries on M15, M30. I never got my entry confirmations on M15 in this area, and that's ultimately why I ended up taking a loss. So then from here, after we lost this area here, then I tried to trade again during London session. In London session, I did get somewhat of an entry confirmation in this area right here. But then we had, I forget what news it was. I think it was unemployment claims or something like that. We were in these buys based off of this fib structure that I mentioned. And this was like an 88.6. So I'm like, okay, Lambo lock, because this is, like if it break 88.6, then we just wrong about the trade. Ultimately, price dumped, took out these lows here, and then literally came right back into it. So this is where, like I said, the account went south on both of these trades, because I want you guys to, completely understand that I'm risking about 40% on each position. So if I take two losses back to back, that's 80% of the account that's gone. You know what I'm saying? So we lost, like I said, 40%, well, 40% here, and then another 40% in this area here. And then damn, hold on, am I frozen? Am I frozen, chat? I hope I ain't frozen. Oh, never mind, it looked like we good. But all right, so what I was mentioning was in this area, if I lost 40%, boom, that's almost damn near half of the account, then almost another half of the account. So just in two trades, that's where things went south. And that's what it is, about this challenge. That's what makes it a little bit more difficult, is like you don't really got the room for, fuck ups. Ultimately, that's what it boils down to, right? So in the midst of we taking this loss right here, that's when I think the account was down to like, I want to say like $300. And then I had caught some scalps off of this little break and retest on M1, but I don't know why my trading view keeps freezing on my screen. Hold on, let me close some stuff real quick, because ultimately I shouldn't be freezing. But anyways, so like I said, I had caught this little buy off of the M1. Once I realized, like, all right, prices were really just faking out. This was a breaker structure here. Lower high got broke, impulse corrected, maintained this level of support here, gave me entry confirmations, then I rolled it up. Now once this hit negative 61.8 off of this minor structure fib, I began to trail my stops after the last higher lows, and then ultimately this stopped me out here, and then price just began to continue to just pretty much fly up, right? So we would have been cool if we stayed in that position, but like I said, we was trailing our stops on M1. But overall, like I was mentioning, the whole thing about this, and I want you guys to understand, is that if you make a mistake inside of the market, it's important that you understand like where you went wrong. So me completely, I already know where I went wrong in this environment. Like I'm nowhere near like, worried about the challenge or anything like that. It's because it's like, I know where I fucked up. So as long as you know that, then that's what ultimately matters, because then you can make, conscious effort to actually change the things that you fucked up on, right? So in this case, it was just a couple rushed entries trying to, do too much at one time. And now I understand it. So going into this week, it's like, all right, I just got to make sure I'm a little bit more attentive, a little bit more focused, and, just dialed in. That's really all it boils down to. And once I do that, y'all know, shoot, I'm gonna get right on the charts. I'm gonna do my thing. So not too worried about it. I'm actually excited for this week, because now from my perspective, I look at it in the terms of, okay, like, yeah, this is $1,000 account challenge, but right now we sitting at $470. So to me, it's a $470 challenge. And the testimony or the story ending at the end of July coming from $470 is gonna be, it's gonna be much sweeter when you trading with $470 versus $1,000, right? So that's just how I'm approaching it, and I'm looking at it. Like I said, I'm excited for everything everything that we got in store this week. But overall, like I said, it's just one of those things that you just ultimately learn from, right? So now let's take a look at gold currently, where we are at with current price, and then I will give you guys pretty much a markup for this week. So on the weekly time frame, as y'all know, we always start from the top. The weekly time frame, we kind of have some wick exhaustion at the bottom, but we still have yet to close above this previous bearish weekly candle. So it's kind of like some buyers momentum, but they not really being real aggressive right now. They kind of struggling to close above this previous bearish candle here. So that lets me know that, like it shows here on the daily time frame, it's a little bit of consolidation, right? So we've been in this consolidation on the daily time frame for a little while now. We really haven't had too much movement. We've been talking about this for the last couple weeks, that we've been in this little zone. And then on the daily time frame, you can see like these candles as well are not closing above or beneath these previous candles. So these bearish candles didn't close beneath this bullish candle, and then these bullish candles still haven't closed above these bearish candles. So it's like, all right, we still are somewhat in a level of consolidation on those time frames as well. And then, oops, what am I doing? I meant to clear this off. Hold on. And then on H4, and this is where things, like, I'm interested to see how things approach, like how things go this week, right? So like look at it from this perspective of, if you look at a structure like this here, based off of like this little uptrend, this little low got broken here, impulse, this got a correction, this maintain, like this level of resistance still maintained. So since it did not like break above and like give us a push up, then it's like, all right, well, this could trickle down, you know, further, right? Which will make sense because it will be impulse correction continuation. But the other scenario is that it's like, all right, if you look at this structure, this high got taken out, so then therefore this could be the impulse, this correction, and then a continuation to the upside like that. So like I said, it's two different ways that this can, you know, play out, but we don't control the market. We don't, you know, we're not really trying to predict whether it's going to be a huge move. We just ultimately, you know, react to it. So that's all we pretty much focus on this week, is to reacting. If it give us bearish indication that it wants to go down, then we're going to sell it. If it gives us bullish indications that it wants to buy, then we're going to buy it. And that's what, you know, that's what really it boils down to. Even right now. So like my students, y'all know this right here. If this give us this right here, then I will be leaning more towards, you know, a sell, because it's like, all right, I'm getting this in an area where price is at a level of resistance, just like how we talk about inside of the course, where it's like, where do you see these type of things where they make the most sense? This is at an area where it makes sense to see this type of pattern. So same way you had this type of pattern here, and then you got that push down. Well, if we see it here, guess what? We'll be looking for that same, you know, potential push down, because this will be letting us know that price is not, it's failing. Hold on, you gotta mute your mic. Right here you will see like this is failing to make a new high point if we get this pattern right here. So that's just something that we want to pay attention to going into, you know, London session tonight, Asian session, and typically, I mean, New York session as well. So that's just something that I'm on the lookout for. But ultimately we is sitting at this little level of support, right? Now I'm gonna get rid of some of these fibs just to clear it off a little bit. Let's get rid of this one, and then we can get rid of this. So boom. You said, could that just be a retest? I mean, it can, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we gotta see how price react. If it closed like this, carry, then I will be leaning more towards this coming under here and, you know, trickling down. But if this don't close like under this candle and it like closes above this candle, then I could see this pushing up. But we don't, you know, we don't know yet. So we kind of got to wait and see. Right? So that's just something that I got my eye on to start. But it ain't, you know, nothing is really solidified just yet, because like I mentioned, this was a high. This is looking like it's failing to make a new high. So at the current moment, this can continue to trickle down. So we'll see. Nothing is kind of, you know, nothing is set in stone to start the week. And then I need to put a trend line here because this is something that I want to pay attention to. So this trend line that I just drew kind of could be like a magnet to price, where it is kind of trickle down and respect this trend line. And that, you know, that might be another area of interest that we look for going into this week, right? So that's what I'm looking at. It's not the clearest right now on what price wants to do, but it's like we just gotta wait and see. That's really what it boiled down to. Now, typically my ghost pattern, I would tell y'all to watch price in this area, but we don't, we already at that area, so it ain't really nothing to put right there in this moment. But I will put on this trend line, watch price here, because I'm interested to see like if it bounces off of that trend line or if it continues to break. Now, if we get under here, break, retest, then we definitely selling off. So I could see that if we do that, but it's one of those things where we kind of just gotta wait and see. So look, another thing too though, like this was like an impulse correction, and then this was kind of like a continuation. This made a new high. This higher low got broken. Impulse correction, this could literally fall. So we gonna wait on gold. Y'all know, like I mentioned last week, I'm gonna update y'all every single trade, my analysis on day in and day out basis for the grind challenge. I'm gonna update y'all when I get some more clarity on this move to see what we about to get next, because right now it just don't look the cleanest, right? So we'll wait and see what we can look for. Now, if we get a little break above like this and we maintain this level of support, then yeah, I could see this going like that if we get this. But if we just continue to respect this little trend line and make new lows, then we just gotta wait. Do anybody got any questions about that? Do that make sense to everybody? All right, perfect. All right, Shiraz said, I've been posting my trades in your Telegram chat. I love how you support your community. Bless you. I appreciate that. So look, now another thing too. NAS, we go over NAS. NAS had some setups last week, and I know I told y'all last week, like, I don't really like to, trade them as much, but I will look for them if gold didn't give me opportunity. Low key, I probably should have been trading NAS last week, because NAS gave, just simple breaks and retests like this. Simple break above, retest, entry confirmation, fly up. This first one here broke, retested the counter trend line that we had drew last week. That was perfect, and then gave a beautiful buy. So Nasdaq was pretty smooth. Nasdaq was definitely had some clean opportunities to take advantage of. I just didn't even look at that shit, bro. And that's where I kind of like went wrong. I should have been keeping my options open, but y'all know gold my baby, so I really don't be trying to cheat on her like that. I be trying to make sure I stay loyal to gold. So but like I said, in this case, Nas gave us some good opportunities to take advantage of her. Now, looking at Nas to start the week, obviously we have a lot of bullish momentum. We even closed super bullish. On the daily, we still bullish. Like, we haven't even, look at these pullbacks on the daily. Like, these ain't even real pullbacks. These is just consolidating periods and then continuing to go in the trend. So like impulse, consolidate, continuation, consolidate, continuation, consolidate, continuation. Like, it hasn't had any real deep pullbacks on NAS. It's just been pumping, right? So of course that means that eventually we could be, looking for a pullback, but right now the way the market is booming, it's just like, shit, ride the wave. You don't really got no reason to not ride the wave. It's like you just go with the flow of price, right? So You can see that this is in a channel though. This is forming, you know, divergence, bouncing off of these two trend lines here. Y'all know if we continue to make new highs, then like we won't look for a sale unless the previous higher low point gets taken out. So that previous higher low point is all the way down here. So this will need to break, retest for us to even look for those sales on H4. As we drop down time frames, we can, you know, get a little closer to price, but overall, this is even like breaking a high, retesting a high, continuing on up. So let me look at these fibs to see if we approach. So we got this negative 61.8 up here that we could potentially tap into, that we haven't quite hit just yet. So that's something that I'll be mindful of, that you know, negative 61.8 is there, and then even this little minor negative 27 is almost gotten hit as well, and that's like on H1. Now looking at M30, M15, this gave a little descending channel, I mean the ascending channel as well. So like you can see this little ascending channel got divergence. This broke structure here. So this might be the start of a sell-off on that. It's not gonna hold you. Just the right now money minor structure, I could see this pulling down at least back to this zone. So like doing something like this. Well, really negative 27 is the main target, but the zone is the first stopping point. So I can see this playing out like such. Now we is in Asian session, so I don't really know if like we gonna get the volume to push it, you know, because it's NAS, and you know NAS don't really move too much with too much volume in Asian session. But it's like, you know, I don't know. So we just kind of gotta wait and see. Now the only thing about this is that it is a counter trend trade. So like if you're on counter trend trade and you don't really like understand minor structure, I wouldn't take this. I would just wait for this to kind of get back into this little area and then potentially look for reasons to continue to buy up, right? So that's the only reason. But like I said, this is the right now money. Of course, these buys wouldn't be ready until like we got a brand new impulse, another pullback, and then continue to the upside, right? So that's what I'm looking at on NAS, and I'll put the note watch price here, because like I said, we're still forming definitive higher highs and higher lows. But even if I put this point A to point B on this fib, this negative 27 line up with this 38.2. So like bare minimum, I will want to see a 38.2 pullback. But if we get this 23.6, y'all know that's in the course, like we can expect this before continuing on up. So if we get here and we maintain this level, then I kind of give you an indication on why like we will continue to look for buys, or can we look for that sell down to that negative 27. Now from here, this to that negative 27 is solid 120 pips. So definitely a good start to the move. I mean to the week. And if you want to be a little safe on NAS and you don't want to just jump the gun, you can wait on this counter trend line to get broken and retested before selling that off. So since we in the session that we in, that will be kind of what I will wait on, but that's just me, right? So that's what I have for NAS to start. Do anybody got any questions about Nasdaq? Like I said, I doubled my account on Nasdaq last week. That's good. So XAU USD. I'm in that's 15-minute closed. All right, go for it. All right, so that's Nasdaq, and then let's take a look at US 30. Damn, did we even go over the US 30 last week? I don't even think we did US 30 last week. Let's see. No, we didn't do US 30. Okay. All right, so currently let's take a look at U30. All right, so on the weekly time frame, we can see we're in a critical area, right? We at this level of resistance. The story here is every time price came to this resistance, what did it do? It dropped, it dropped. So now that we're sitting at this level of resistance, there's a high probability chance that we could see some rejections and potentially drop. Now, be mindful that this is the weekly time frame. So when I say this drops, it literally, each one of these candles that's on here is 1 week. So don't just expect like, all right, the markets have just dropped to hell and like, you know, you see it on the smaller time frames. Like this will be, you know, a collective of weeks put together when I say drop. So like literally months before it pushes away, right? So just be mindful of that, but still pay attention to that story on the higher time frames. Now getting to the daily, daily still looking solid. We have this bullish push. We have this impulse. This correction. Just like NAS, no deep pullbacks, and then a continuation, and then we forming our pullback right now, but it's still consolidating. So no structures breaking yet to tell us that we want to go down. So like example right here to the left. Here, when we was at that level of resistance, let me use straight lines. Hold on, let me trip it. So we was at this level of resistance here, and then when it was time to actually get that reversal, what did we do? We had a break of this structure, break, retest, then we got the push. So right now we sitting at this level of support. So before I just say like, all right, you know, we want to sell off, we need to break underneath to support, retest, and then we could look for the sell-off the same way it is right here, right? So that's how I will approach it. Not saying like, you know, like it's just gonna fall just because it's there, but that's how I will approach it inside of the market to take advantage of that move, right? Now get down to H4. This pretty much just looks like a, you know, nice bullish flag, impulse, correction. You already know what comes after that. Get money, right? So we would just want to see kind of this break out of that flag period. That flag pattern to take advantage of a continuation if we get that, right? Now going down to H1. H1, we have a little bit more details, so we can kind of get a grip of what is actually happening, right? So if I look at the structures here on H1, we was in this uptrend. We then broke this uptrend, right? So we broke the higher low, came back, corrected it, made new lower low, made a new lower high, made a new lower low. So currently the red that I illustrated is the downtrend of price, right? Now, what happened within that downtrend? This got broken with a brand new impulse. This is pulling back. So what does that mean? It means there's a high probability chance that this gives us a new higher high from this point, because we had an impulse or correction, be looking for a continuation. So if we begin to form you know, higher low, like a higher low in this area, then that can be a sign that the market wants to continue to go up, right? So based off of all of that, let's put our annotations back on. Now I can draw some trend lines to illustrate, and then I want to see, I think this fib played out last time we was on the call. Yeah, this hit negative 27. It didn't quite hit negative 61.8, but that's okay because it hit negative 27. And then like I was mentioning how it took out that high point, break your structure, boom, here. Now I can put a fib on here, point A to point B. So currently we sitting at a 38.2 retrace on US 30. Now let's take a look. We got this little area of support. here, and I'm gonna just put a zone because it's kind of a little big of an area. And then also we had a trend line right here. Wham. Oops. Boom. So I'll be looking to see if this gives us like this last lower high point students, you already know. Break of this, retest to get money. But there's a possibility that this could trickle down, come to this zone, retest that trend line one more time. But kind of just gotta wait and see. So watch price in this area. So this is the, if we get an impulse and we look for a pullback, that'll kind of be like during New York. I will look for that, but this could also kind of just be looking like it's taking out these highs and then fall. So we'll see what the market gives us. See, now this was makes it weird because US 30 is giving like, all right, clear buys, and then Nasdaq is giving like it could sell, right? But also remember, this is still in the uptrend on Nas too. So the main structure is uptrend. So the minor structure could be violated before, you know, like the minor structure could be violated and not give us the sell that we're looking for. But we don't know yet. So we just kind of got to wait and see and kind of, you know, play it by the ear. That's, you know, our job as traders is just to react to price. We never try to, you know, predict it, even though like when we do our analysis, we do our analysis to kind of get a grip of where, you know, price can potentially go. But also at the same time, it's like we just giving ourselves, you know, options like option A or option B. That's why I said like, okay, if this gives us, you know, the retest here and then the break of that counter trend line, then I'll be looking for, you know, potential sales down to the 0 or to the negative 27. But if it buys up, like if it gives us bullish price action, letting us know like, all right, I want to buy, then we will buy it, you know. So never be so fixated on one particular bias. Always understand, you know, like you don't control it. Your job is just to control you and, you know, make decisions based off of logical data or concrete data that's been printed, you know, inside of the market. So right now on all of the pairs, really, it ain't really too much concrete data that I'm feeling right now to say like, all right, where is price about to go next? But, you know, like I said, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, we started excited to get back started with the challenge this week. I don't think that I'm gonna take as many trades that I took last week because last week was kind of just trying to get the account back, you know, back right. But this week I think we take it slow and steady, and I think that'll do wonders on the account. And I might try to hold the trades for a little longer and none of that like scalp stuff. But we'll see. We'll just see what the week brings to let us know how we should move going forward. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Somebody said can't mark up GU. I typically don't mark up GU, but I will go over it since we have a little bit more time. We only been on here for 30 minutes. So I guess the last time we were on here, I put this take profit on the daily, and I guess the last time we did mark up, this got hit. So that's clutch, right? Let's take a look on the weekly. So GU on the weekly, and honestly the Forex pairs, they've been trendy. So if you trade Forex pairs, you can see how like this is trendy versus like the gold, like consolidating, like not really trendy. but the weekly and on the forex pairs it looks a little bit more trendy. But all right, so here, same thing like we mentioned, this hasn't closed beneath this huge bullish candle yet. So I'm still, like, based off the weekly time frame, still bullish because we broke, we retested, we haven't closed underneath that bullish candle yet. So more than likely we can continue to potentially push up, just based off of the weekly time frame. On the daily, we've been forming definitive higher highs and higher low points all throughout this area. And then hold on, we just broke above this high. We're sitting on it right now. So we're sitting at a major level of support. So let's go ahead and mark that off. Boom. And then let's go to the H4. So the H4 structure looks like such. We kind of have this being formed, and like I said, we right here at this price. So if we break underneath, retest, then we of course we could be looking for sales. But until we do that, we are at the low of price. So when you think about the basics of forex, buy low, sell high, we at a low point. So logically thinking, we should look for buys, right? Because it's like we at a low point. If we look for sales, we will want for price to make a new, we will want to take it from a high point in relevance to the market. So what would that mean? That means we will break underneath, make new lows, and then come back and test this as a high point, because this will be a level of resistance which acts like a ceiling before we drop down. Right now, of course, this is the H4, so that will take some time to formulate, but that's just how you will overall approach things. And then taking a look on H1, let's go ahead and mark this low off. Taking a look on H1, we can see that we've had this breaker structure, and this might be considered 30-minute structure, but to each his own. This hit negative 61.8, and then let's draw out this structure. So we had low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. From here, price has taken out this lower high with this impulse push. It pulled back and then formed like a higher low, but this little area didn't quite make a new high. So right now, basically, ultimately, it's just in this little consolidating box. So until we get out of that consolidating box, then I wouldn't really look for anything just yet based off of H1. Now you can see this is like I mentioned, this was like a daily level. So I can kind of make this red. But if you pay attention to what price did in this particular area, you can kind of see like consolidation right here, consolidation right here, consolidation right here. We had a bigger consolidation right here, and now we even got consolidation again right here. So when you're in consolidation as a trader, this is where situational environment, like situational awareness, comes into handy. I always like to give this example to my students because, like, you can, it's relatable, right? So let's just like use your imaginations for a second. When you think about it, let's just say you go out to a bar. You go out to a bar, had a couple drinks, and then somebody bump you, spill a drink onto you, or whatever the case may be. You're not that upset, but they upset, whatever the case may be. So let's just say they like, go outside, let's fight. Okay, cool, let's fight, right? Now, in that moment, as a situational aware person, you have to be aware of, okay, that person said he wanted to fight me, but who all is that person with? Because if you only focus your attention on the one person that said they wanted to fight you and he got friends, then guess what? You might hit his friend. I mean, you might hit the dude that want to fight you. And then if you're not aware of everybody else that's around you, one of his homies, one of his friends, one of his cousins, brothers, whatever the case may be, can hit you in the back of your head and knock you out because you wasn't really attentive of everybody else that was around you, right? So having that situational awareness, you got to be attentive of everybody that's around you that could potentially harm you. So same thing inside of the market. When you in areas like this in consolidations, you got to have that situational awareness where it's like, all right, I notice I'm in this area, so therefore I got to be a little bit more careful because I can get my head knocked off in consolidation if I'm not careful. Especially if I'm trying to, take trades, and let's just say like, all right, I look for a buy, I'm in buys, and then it just reverse down, come back to this like the lows of the consolidation, and then I get out of it, and then it push back up, and now I'm playing, like tug of war with the market, and it's like, well, in this consolidation area right here, it's really not that, it's not that clear. So you got to make sure that you have that awareness and make sure that the market is clear before you go and continue to make any, decisions that could potentially, harm you, right? So that's something that you, like I said, pay attention to. And y'all got me weak in the comments. Somebody said, fa. Y'all funny, but like that's I just want to break it down to you, like in the terms of that, so y'all can really, like hone in on exactly what it is, like I'm saying, right? So currently, this is 1 hour still downtrending structure. I will wait for this to break above here, retest, and then we could look for buys up into this little area right here. This first zone will be like your stopping point, and then if you break underneath this retest, then you will look to target these next level of support right here, which is this next little minor zone right there. So kind of got to play it by the ear. I would, if I had to give like one or the other, I will look for buys just because the main trend is bullish at the moment, right? So that's how I will approach it. Even looking at this as a fib, we currently sitting at a 38.2 fib level, so we should get some rejections if it's gonna buy, but if it don't, then we can trickle down into like that area that I was just mentioning, which is kind of like that 50%. So that's just what we could potentially expect, but it's not in the area where we can kind of make a concrete decision on what's about to happen next. So all of the pairs that we've analyzed so far don't really have like the cleanest setup right now to start the week, and that's perfectly fine. That's just one of those things where you just wait, and this, like, I like to get an example of like having a day off. Like, all right, well, this shit ain't nothing really ready yet, take the day off. Like, if your boss was to tell you like, hey bro, we don't got no work for you to do, go home, take the day off, you gonna be happy as hell. But same thing in the market, it's like, all right, it's not really ready, nothing really screaming at me to buy or sell, so shit, take the day off. And that's that's really what it boiled down to. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Hopefully everybody understand that concept. You said, do you ever take trades on a Sunday? Sometimes, if it gives me the price action I need to see, yeah. But like, especially like, that's why I do the calls at 6, because like the market be a little fresh, but you still got to give a little bit of time to like breathe, open up, like really get some movement before you like just jump in. So I'll look at price during New York session, or even a London session. Now, one thing I do want to say about the London session. Now, y'all know, well, for those that do know, I be on, like, I got night duty as a dad. So, like, with my daughter, she a newborn, her mom watches her during the daytime, so I can do my things, and I watch my daughter in the nighttime, so her mother can sleep. Now, when I'm up during London session, sometimes I do see setups that be like, okay, cool, I gotta take advantage of it. But half of the time she just be crying, or she just like, you put her down for like 15 minutes, and then you give them a bottle, they sleep, and then if you ain't holding her, she gonna wake right back up. And it's like, damn. But if I hold her, literally, if I hold her, she'll sleep for 2 hours. So I'm like, damn. So sometimes I be holding her, and I don't be trying to move, because it's like, all right, I don't want to wake her up. But then I'll be trying to look on the laptop, and y'all go watch the videos. Y'all see I'll be in the bed, and I'll be whispering on camera, because I'm like, all right, I don't even want to wake her up, because if she wake up, she gonna have a fit. And then I'll be trying to be, mindful of my girl sleeping, because it's like, I don't want the baby to start crying, because then the baby gonna wake up my girl. So it's like, I just be trying to be very mindful. But from what I've learned last week, because of course, like, before then I wasn't doing like a account build challenge where I had to film, YouTube videos, got the camera in the room and all that stuff. Like, I didn't really have to worry about like none of that. But now that I'm doing a challenge, I've just noticed that my performance isn't the greatest during those moments when my daughter is either acting up, or I'm giving her a bath, or whatever the case may be. So I probably won't take as many London session trades, probably just New York. But then it's like a flip side to each one of these. Like, she'll be up during London session, and it's like either she can cry, or it'd be like, damn, I'm gonna be dead tired because I just stayed up from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, and then now I get up and go to the markets during New York session, and it's like, shit, do I want to be tired? Do I want to deal with a crying baby? But to each his own. I ain't gonna use that as an excuse. I'm just letting y'all know, like, the reality of all of this. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is. But like I said, I'm gonna perform, and in order for me to perform good, I just gotta be aware of the stuff that can cause me to perform at a lower rate. And that's, that goes back to that, situational awareness, right? So that's what I want all y'all to focus on this week. It's just becoming aware. Be aware of what you're doing in the market. Don't just trade. Like, really decipher. Like, if you lose a trade, go back and figure out why you lost that trade before you even jump into a brand new trade. And if you like winning a whole bunch of trades, take note of that too, and then continue to build on the things that you're doing to win those trades. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just be aware, and just track every single thing that you're doing. That way you can improve on the areas that you need to improve, and continue to do the things that you're doing well. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Day 4 of the grind challenge resumes. Literally, I was just thinking like, damn, well, where are my cameras so I can record this? But the whole time I'm using the camera as the webcam. So I'll begin filming day 4 during like right now, as soon as we get off this call. And then I guess I'll resume tomorrow, I guess, if we don't get any setups. But low key, I'm supposed to be going downstairs making some hibachi. My girl got me this new grill, so I'm about to try to get my hibachi on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it, folks. Hopefully everybody understand everything that we went over. If you don't understand, just go back and rewatch the recording. And then with that being said, I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed week. Go out there and kill it. Number one thing, believe in yourselves enough to, know that y'all can do this, because every single one of y'all on this call is more than deserving of, making money in this market. So with that being said,